It's 1991. Wrestlemania 7 is about to emanate from the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. It's a huge arena. WWE say it's going to be the biggest attendance of all time. And something happens. Now, the true reason has never actually come out. The official reason, the official line that the WWE give, is that because there was a storyline at the time of Sergeant Slaughter being an Iraqi sympathiser right in the middle of a war between Iraq and America. Sound familiar? That they couldn't have this in a huge stadium. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it in such a massive stadium. They had to downsize it a little bit. So they took it to the Los Angeles Memorial. That word doesn't sound right to me. The Los Angeles Memorial Sports Arena, which is about a fifth of the size or something. Right. Here's the DVD case. Here's the match right here that we're talking about, the main event. This is what the card is built around. The card is built around the real life tensions between the United States of America and Iraq. Sergeant Slaughter was sympathising with Iraq. Hulk Hogan, the American hero. For the first time, you look, WrestleMania 8 there, he's wearing his red bandana. He wore his red bandana all the time. But for the first time, we see him wearing this red, white and blue star-spangled bandana. Right, let's get into this card. First of all, this show had 15 matches on it. One was a data match, so it's not on the DVD. But imagine that, 15 matches at a WrestleMania, how boring that would be. Right, first match was the Rockers versus Barbarian and Haku. First of all, you've got the Rockers, a fantastic young tag team. You could put your money behind this tag team. They were the Hardy Boys of the early 90s. They weren't doing the crazy bumps through the tables, but they were doing a lot more than other tag teams were at the time, especially in the WWF. Then they had their opponents, Barbarian and Haku. A great tag team as well, in my opinion. Great's thrown around a bit too much, but this, if I was to put together an all-time roster of 50 guys and pick about 5 tag teams to put on there, no, 5 or 10 tag teams, I'd probably pick Ming and Barbarian as one that is an outsider chance of getting in, because I really like the idea of this tag team. The two huge islanders that apparently in real life were solid as fuck. Sounds great to me. So right, we've got these two big guys versus these two little high flyers, and of course the two little high flyers win. And do you know how I know that? Because again, on the back of this, it says the winners first, then the losers. They've obviously just got this off a results card, and then put, right, this guy's against this guy, this guy's against this guy. Right, Rockers beat Barbarian and Haku. This was a good match. Now, the Rockers were supposedly being built up as the next big tag team, one of the next top tag teams. The way they looked like they were one of the best tag teams in the world. Now, they didn't really end up getting anywhere as a tag team, but they had so much potential, and it really showed in this. Barbarian and Haku, I don't know why they weren't paired together for much longer. Obviously, they were when they were in WCW, but in the WWF, their tag team run together was quite short-lived. Next match, the Texas Tornado versus Dino Bravo. Now, they got Texas Tornado about 5 years too late. Kerry Von Erich at this point had apparently had his foot amputated. Again, not a lot of stuff has really come, like, it's dribbled out. We're not too sure about what actually happened in this card. Well, I'm not anyway. I don't know the full inside information. We've been told that Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado, his foot was amputated. We don't know if that to be a fact or not. And his opponent in this match was Dino Bravo. Dino Bravo, a guy who would be, again, apparently killed by the Canadian Mafia. Not too much of a great match. Texas Tornado got a win. Good feel-good moment. Again, this was a real feel-good pay-per-view. A lot of the faces went over on this, and there wasn't that many heels that actually went over. So far we've got the Rockers, these two white bread Americans beating the big Islanders. Then we've got Texas Tornado, again, good old American boy beating the Canadian Dino Bravo. Then we had the British Bulldog. Now obviously he's not American, but he's British, he was the good guy. British Bulldog beats the Warlord, and again, a boring match. Bulldog cut a little promo at the start of it. Watching this, it makes me think that Bulldog could have been so big. He could have been absolutely huge. Already at this point, Hogan is looking old. This should have been Hogan's last ever title in the WWF, and off the top of my head, it probably was, apart from the short stint in '93 and then in 2002. But this should have been his last one. The last time Hogan had the title, and he could have dropped it to the British Bulldog. Think now, think back. What people think of Bret Hart and British Bulldog, they think Bret Hart's one of the best wrestlers of all time, whereas Bulldog is just another side note in history. Bulldog at this time was one of the top guys in the company, I believe. The look of him, just to look like, as a British guy, obviously, I love the Bulldog. Bulldog is one of my heroes growing up, and someone who I'd always look up to, despite all the stuff that came out about him. And again, not anything that's been confirmed, apart from his steroid use, which is obvious. But yeah, he was jacked in this match. Him and Warlord, also going back to the last match, Tornado must have been on the steads as well. But yeah, Bulldog and Warlord both jacked. Quick match, Bulldog beats him with a running power slam, and the commentators were making out, oh my god, I can't believe you can lift him up. And it's a bit stupid. 4 years ago, Hulk Hogan slammed Andre the Giant, so you don't think Bulldog can pick up the Warlord, who's a lot smaller than Andre, and probably just as strong as Hulk, or just a little bit less strong, a little bit weaker. So yeah, one thing I'm disappointed about the Bulldog, that he never really got that main event shine, and he really could have got it to 92, 93 if he hadn't been fired by the WWE because of the steroid scandal and everything that came off of that. I'll do a separate video on that at a later point. If you want to see that, let me know down here. But if he wasn't fired, I think he would have been given the title around 93 and maybe 94 when Bret was the main guy. Him and Bulldog could have gone against each other, but then that would have derailed Owen Hart. This is the little Lego piece of, oh, you take one brick out of it, now it's not right, so you got to put it somewhere else, and someone falls into the wrong place. This always happens with pro wrestling. Then we had the Nasty Boys going against the tag team champions, the Hart Foundation. The Hart Foundation, like I just said, Bret Hart was to become the world heavyweight champion within the next 2 years. This is the start of Bret's singles run, because this is when him and Neidhart lose the tag team titles, and he goes on to start becoming a singles wrestler, goes and gets the IC title, and then gets the world title. Decent little match. Nasty Boys, again, looking at the strength in depth this tag team division had, Nasty Boys were a team that I never really thought were that great, especially seeing them in TNA in later years, you know how rubbish they are. I don't know how they got this push to become tag team champions, probably because Knobbs was friends with Hogan. You know, everyone knows Hogan loves Knobbs. But yeah, Nasty Boys got the win over the Hart Foundation. I'll sort of get into more of this later on. It was a decent little match, but then again, it freed Bret up to go become a singles wrestler. Next we had Jake the Snake Roberts against Rick Martel. Now the storyline behind this was that Rick Martel had blinded Jake the Snake Roberts. Now I'd seen a match like this, similar to it, I think it was on SmackDown, when they blindfolded Santino Marella and, was it Drew McIntyre? They blindfolded them both. And this is what this match was. This was a blindfold match where Jake Roberts had been blinded by Rick Martel because he sprayed this perfume in his eyes, and Rick Martel used to go around being a model and spraying this arrogant perfume in people's eyes. And not people in general, but Jake Roberts was the first person he blinded. So when he finally came back from his blindness, they thought, you know what? Let's take his sight away from him again. It would have made sense if he was like, oh, Jake's still blind, but he wants to fight Rick Martel. How can we do this? We can put bags over both heads to make sure they're both blind, even it up a bit. But then they thought, no, that makes too much sense. We'll wait till he's back. We'll say that he's back. We'll say that he can see again, and then we'll put a bag over his head and say that he can't see nothing. Nice one, WWE. This was a fun little match. As a kid, I always hated this match, but now, looking back, I can accept it for what it is. Really good storytelling in this match where they blindfolded and they point in all directions, and then the fans cheer and the fans boo, and Mick Martel's getting close, and then one will be walking this way, one will be walking that way, and they'll just cross over paths instead of hitting into each other. Jake Roberts obviously gets the win, gets his payback for Rick Martel getting him, and then he puts the big snake on him at the end. Next up, The Undertaker. In the beginning of one of the most flukiest things in pro wrestling history, Undertaker beats Jimmy the Superfly Snuka. Now, that wasn't the fluke. Undertaker was bigger than Snuka. I would have put him over Snuka. Undertaker was a big star for the future. Everyone could see that going into this. Jimmy Snuka was a guy who'd already been retired. He'd come back, you know, he'd work the odd match, but this is his time to really put over the Undertaker, give him a good match, and he did give him a good little match. Now, what I'm saying is fluky is the fact of the matter that they put Undertaker over in about the next 10 WrestleManias, then about 10 years time, around WrestleMania 17, someone would have read a trivia question that went somewhere along the lines of, how many matches has The Undertaker lost at WrestleMania? 0. And then they would have thought to themselves, Undertaker's never lost at WrestleMania. Now he is one of our top guys. Now he is a locker room hero. Maybe we can do something with this. And that's where we find ourselves today, when he is 19-0. This all happened by fluke. They probably got to the point where he's like 11-0 and they thought, wait a minute, he's undefeated, we can really build this up, we can take it to 15. Imagine if he went 15 years undefeated, and now we're looking at him possibly being 20 years undefeated at WrestleMania. A huge feat, which is possible for The Undertaker, which I really hope that he does get. But yeah, that's what I mean by fluke. Just imagine the next year for WrestleMania 8, when he went against Jake the Snake Roberts, they decided, you know what, Undertaker's been a bit of an arsehole recently. Obviously, he probably hadn't been, but imagine if he had been. And they thought, you know what, we're going to teach him a bit of a lesson. We're going to put Roberts over him. And then the streak would have ended before it even began. Next up, Ultimate Warrior versus Macho Man Randy Savage, in what I personally believe is probably the best match in the Ultimate Warrior's career. I praised him in my last video, my WrestleMania 6 video, saying it was really good and he did really well. I'm going to praise him again here and say that Macho Man Randy Savage and him put on probably the best match of Warrior's career. I might have said that in the last video, but this match was even better. Obviously, Macho Man Randy Savage liked to book out all of his matches in advance. The storyline had been that he was a heel now. He discarded Miss Elizabeth again. And what's the woman called? Sensational Sherry was by his side. But then this was a career match. Whoever loses had to leave the WWE. And at ringside is Miss Elizabeth. Miss Elizabeth is sat at ringside. Now the match goes on, goes to plan, and the Ultimate Warrior finally beats the Macho Man Randy Savage in what was a good back and forth little contest. After the match, Sensational Sherry is bollocking Randy Savage. She is shouting the odds. Then Liz comes to the ringside, and Elizabeth and Sherry scuppers out of the way, and the Savage looks at Elizabeth like, you're the one just hitting me behind my back, you're the one shouting at me. And the referee says, no, it was Sherry. Sherry did it, now she's fucked off. And he looks at Liz and he thinks, wait a minute, you've come back for me, haven't you? You've come back to help me. And they console and they hug and he lifts her up and he probably kisses her. I forgot the specifics, but the fact of the matter is there were women in the audience who were crying. Women were sat there crying at this. Now it goes to show how WWE have fallen in the past 20 years. How they didn't even need women's wrestling back then to appeal to them, with a very basic storyline of a woman coming back to her long-time lover. She's going to stand by him. He's retired. He's at his lowest moment. He's just been retired by the Ultimate Warrior. Yet she's going to run to the ring to console him and say, listen baby, I am back for you. Women at ringside were crying. Now the WWE nowadays like to throw women in our face and say, look, this is what a woman should look like. Women should be stick thin. Women should be nigh on 6 foot tall. Women should be absolutely gorgeous. Women should be powerful. Women should be strong. Now obviously, some women should be like that. I'm not saying they shouldn't be. But not every woman looks like that. Elizabeth was gorgeous. She was short. She was stick thin. But she wasn't a wrestler. Oh no, she was not a wrestler. She was a valet. Now that's what the women of today need to learn. They need to learn that they're not wrestlers. Some like Kelly could be an awesome valet. Cover up a little bit more. Make us wonder what's hiding behind that. Don't just show us everything. That's not like... Less is more and more is less, isn't it? And the less she tries to sexualize herself, the better she'll look for it. And she could be someone's valet. She could be someone's Liz, rather than just be a crappy women's wrestler who everyone despises because she takes up valuable TV time. Now Eve's going along that route. Maybe that will go somewhere well. Anyway, best start getting on with this. This is almost 15 minutes. Next match. Koji Kitao and Genichiro Tenryu versus Demolition, and now the Japanese team beats Demolition. I don't know the insider reason behind these two Japanese guys coming over, but this is something I really do believe that the WWE should do more of. Bringing guys from other companies and let them wrestle on WrestleMania. I don't really mean ROH and TNA, because obviously they're in direct competition or being in the North American market. However, WrestleMania is a time when it's all the best wrestlers from all around the world. Vince has cleaned out all the territories, especially in 2012, which we are in now. He's cleaned out all the territories. There's nothing left. He might as well go to Japan and say, do you know what? We're going to put 2 Japanese guys against 2 of our guys, and we're going to let the Japanese guys win. Because you know why? Tag team wrestling doesn't matter in the WWE. And secondly, they might expect them putting a celebrity over, expect them putting Mayweather over, give him, let's pay Mayweather millions of dollars, and then put him over the Big Show. Don't even ask him to lose, let's just let him win. No, let's get some Japanese wrestlers, pay him a minuscule fraction of that, put on a good match for the smart marks, and then fuck them off. Tell them to go back home, and we'll see you next year if you're good enough. That would be a very good little concept. This match was nothing really, went by, nothing to say about it. Next match, Big Boss Man wants to win the Intercontinental title against Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect with Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan's been trying to scupper Big Boss Man's plans for a long time. Big Boss Man gets the win, but it's by disqualification. Andre the Giant comes out to help him, and afterwards Andre the Giant really puts him over by saying, this guy here, he's the best partner I ever had. And Bobby Heenan, I tell you now, Bobby Heenan, I will not let you disrespect anybody ever again. Ha 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 ha. That's my Andre the Giant impression. It's brilliant, isn't it? No, it's not. Anyway, Earthquake versus Greg the Hammer Valentine in a match that lasted about a minute, and Earthquake beat Valentine, blah 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 blah. Nothing to say. Then Legion of Doom versus Power of Glory in a match where the promo before it probably lasted a bit longer. Legion of Doom got the win, and Hawk said, we're going to get those tag team titles, we should have been fighting for the belts tonight. Oh, maybe that was Animal who said that. And that's what I mean. It could have been Legion of Doom versus the Hart Foundation. They missed a glorious chance here, and it's upsetting, isn't it? Right, Legion of Doom beat Power of Glory. Then we had Virgil versus the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. The big blow off to the storyline. Ted DiBiase has been treating Virgil bad for a very, very, very long time. But what happens? They let Virgil win by count out. They don't even give him the big win. Probably because they knew he was a shit wrestler and they weren't going to put much stock behind him. A win like this sort of helped him out. Then Roddy Piper was at ringside with a little crutch. He looked like bloody one of those pirates. I don't know the names. Long John Silver. It looked like Long John Silver with a crutch, and he's hobbling in his kilt, and then he falls over in the ring, and Virgil's after the match, he's like, come on Piper, get up, come on. You told me to get up when I was down, now I'm helping you to get up. Yeah, awesome TV, WWE shit. Next up, we had a little light entertainment before the main event. The Marty versus Tito Santana. The Marty won by cheating. Right, then we get the main event. Hulk Hogan, Mr. America versus Sergeant Slaughter, the army general who turned his back on his country and sided with the enemy of Iraq. This is a huge match. This is a mega match at the time. Who is going to win? Will Hulk Hogan and America prevail, or will the evil dictatorship of Iraq? The so-called... This is brainwashing, blatant brainwashing from the World Wrestling Federation at the time to tell you, do you know what? Iraq is bad. We've got one of our top guys sympathising with them, and that makes him the worst. That makes him the biggest enemy of this country, that he could sympathise with those Iraqi bastards. WWE were fueling the hate here. Now luckily it's something they don't really do too much anymore, at least not as openly as this. But back then, imagine how tight tensions were back then. Let's go back to 9/11. Let's go back to that huge atrocity that happened in the United States. Imagine, this is the time when they should have done something like this. This is the time when they should have brought out someone like Sergeant Slaughter. Maybe someone like Kurt Angle to come out and be a sympathiser. That would have been real heel heat. That would have been WWE getting a real set of bollocks and saying, do you know what? This is entertainment. Other TV shows can give you Americans where they're sympathising, and you know it's a TV show, so we're going to do that. We're going to grow a set of balls, and we're going to really make it at a time when it's so heated. And we're going to get the best wrestler in the world, Kurt Angle, Mr. America, someone who won an Olympic gold medal, to side with the Al-Qaeda. we're going to get him to do that. And then you could have had it where even Triple H, the big monster of the WWF, beats him. Or the American badass, The Undertaker, even Hulk Hogan, who was around at the time. This could have been huge. WWE dropped the ball by choosing to, you know what, let's play it safe. We can't possibly do that. We cannot face the backlash. We cannot face the criticism. They took away their own artistic integrity for the sake of the money. Now, it's a company, it is all about the money. But would other artists do that? Would another artist, a true artist, someone who draws pictures or writes plays, would they have bottled it? When they could have created a true masterpiece, would they have bottled it like this? The WWE really did. Sorry, I'm going off on a side tangent. Back to 1991, 10 years before this, 10 years before 9/11. Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter, and Hulk, before the match, Sergeant Slaughter said, you know what, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to get myself counted out, or I'll get myself disqualified, and I'm going to leave with this title belt. Hulk Hogan, you're not going to win. You may win the battle, but you are not going to win the war, my friend. Hulk Hogan, despite all the cheating of Sergeant Slaughter, despite him trying to get counted out, Hulk Hogan overcomes the odds and beats Sergeant Slaughter to become the World Wrestling Federation champion for the 3rd time. It was a good moment. Looking back, I can say that this Sergeant Slaughter character did nothing for me. They could have had somebody else in that role who could have played it a lot better. The Sergeant Slaughter's promo technique of calling people slimes and pukemania, awful, 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 awful. Maybe 20 years ago it was big, it was really good, but now to look back on it, it doesn't seem that way. I want to know what you guys think of this show. And I want to know what you guys think of the topic I just brought up. The whole America versus the world concept. The whole good versus evil concept. The whole 9/11 thing and what WWE could have done to take advantage of that. Now, a lot of people might say, oh, well, that's a bit crass, isn't it? Taking a real life thing like 9/11 and translating it into a wrestling storyline by using someone who's a sympathizer with Osama bin Laden. Why is it crass? 24 did stuff like that by having Nina Myers, spoiler alert, Nina Myers sided with the terrorists for monetary gain. And 24 is critically acclaimed as being a masterpiece of a TV show. Why can't the WWF do that? Why can't the WWF grow a set of balls and say, do you know what? Hollywood fucking hates us and we don't give a shit. You can hate on us all we want because we're going to rake in this money. We're going to give an artistic masterpiece to our fans. That's what I personally believe they should be doing all the time. Bring in the money, that's fine. Bring in as much money as they can. But bring us artistic freedom. Give us some great artistic storylines. That is me out for now. I would like to click that subscribe button up above so you can watch more of these videos. I would like to comment down below and let me know what you think of WrestleMania 7. What you think of that theory of mine and what you think of this review of mine. Have I gone too far? I'm not too sure. Maybe I have. Thank you very, very, very much for watching. This is 24 minutes by the time it finishes. See you later.